Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a March wrap up and kind of talking about giving the stats, giving my overall thoughts on all of the books that I read in the month of March. And you can see I have a significant stack right here. You really can't even tell, but I mean, I read a good bit in the month of March. So we're going to first pull up my Notion because I need to find all of the books that I did not read on my TBR. The first book that I did not read is going to be a book that was in the Rory Gilmore Challenge, and that one I found on Kindle Unlimited, and I was planning on reading The Life of Pi. This book is a book that I kind of do still want to read, but it's only going to be one of those that if I pick that prompt again, maybe I'll read it then. It's just, I found it, when I pulled that Rory Gilmore prompt, I knew it was going to be books that I really wasn't all that interested in, so we'll see. Maybe that'll come up again later, but, you know, yeah, whatever. The next book that I did not read that was on my TBR was a highly rated Kindle Unlimited book, and I have the physical book here, but I found this also on Kindle Unlimited, and I don't remember the rating, but it was decent. I thought it was a pretty good rated book on Kindle Unlimited, and that was Hooked by Emily McIntyre, whatever. I have not read any of her books. I've had this on my shelf for quite a while. I do want to read it. I might want to read it I want to do like a dark romance video, so I might end up picking this up again in the future, but I do want to read it. It was just something I just wasn't able to get to this month. And then the last book that I had on my TBR that I did not pick up was A Fragile Enchantment. This was a Owl Crate special edition book that I got, and I actually really wanted to read this because this, from what I understood, it kind of gives Bridgerton vibes. So I do want to read this. This will definitely be a book that I will be reading in the future. I just wasn't able to read it because I had other books that I wanted to read more. So those were the books that did not get read. And actually, this one had a prompt as well. What was that prompt? I think it was like the aesthetic. A book with a pretty cover. That was what this book was. So I wasn't able to do those prompts, but I still plan on reading at least Hooked and A Fragile Enchantment. I just wasn't able to do it this month. So now we're going to talk about all of the books that I did finish in the month of March. And so let's do some stats really fast because Destiny does this on some of her videos and I kind of like it. I have an accounting background and I work in a financial type field, so numbers, my alley. So for the month of March, I read a total of 12 books, totaling 5,203 pages. I had an average rating of 4.06 stars of all of these 12 books. So that was exciting. So now we're going to jump into the actual books. The books that I read, I got to the wrong option. Okay. We will start all out of order because these are not in order and I wish they were, but they're not. But the last book that I did read was The Broken Protector. This I found on Kindle Unlimited like a month ago. This was the longest book that I have read in a very, very, very long time. I think it ended up taking me almost over a month to read. Originally, I had got it because it said it was a dark romance, I think. I mean, it was a while ago, but I did finish this. I gave it a 3.5 stars. I will say this originally drew me in because I think literally the first chapter, there was a dead person in a house. No one knew how, why, who this person was and why they were there and what happened, all that kind of stuff. And then it was like a romance and along with a mystery, but I felt like it just kind of fizzled out. It really hooked me at the very beginning. And I did enjoy the romance, but it just I felt like what happened at the very beginning wasn't, it didn't have a consistent flow through the rest of the book. It was good. I do want to try to maybe pick up Nicole Snow, another one of her books, just to see if it just wasn't, this one wasn't my favorite, and maybe there's other ones that I like a little bit better. So, but I did read this one and I gave it a 3.5 stars. And then I have, let's do this, we'll do this from the top. To Kill the Shadow. So this one was a carryover from February. I did not finish this by the end of February. I ended up finishing this on like March the 3rd. So this I gave 3.5 stars again. This is a young adult romance, sort of. And it was okay. So I did a video, actually, I'll put the video up if I remember. I did a video where I talked about this, so I'm not really going to talk about it a whole lot. It was good. This is part of a series. I do want to pick up the next book. I don't remember if it's a duology or if it's going to be a longer series, but I do want to pick up the other one just so I can kind of see where the story goes. But I had high hopes and it just didn't give it. It just didn't do it for me. So 3.5, not bad, but not good. And then we have next 2 books we're going to talk about together. So we have the last 2 books, or so far, of ACOTAR. So we have A Court of Starlight, Frost and Starlight, yes, and A Court of Silver Flames. This is book 4 and this is book 5. This is, again, I have a video on this. This, in my opinion, didn't need to be written. It didn't really give a whole lot. I felt like the important pieces of this book probably could have been like dropped in a chapter or 2 in this book. So this one really wasn't needed. It wasn't, I don't know. It just wasn't great. I didn't see the point in it. This was a 3.5 star. This one though, this one was the relationship between Nesta and Cassian. 5 star. Very good. I did not like Nesta at all. Like, I did not like her through any of the other books. She was bitter. She drove me crazy. I didn't like her attitude. She was just always like, woe is me, you know, attitude. And I couldn't stand it. I cannot wait to see her in the future. I loved Cassian from the minute he stepped on the scene. I love him. Oh my God. I love this book. This one was a beast, but I love this book. I cannot wait for the next books in the series to come out. I'm very upset that I have to wait for however long I have to wait to get the next book, but this one was 5 stars. If you have not read ACOTAR, you need to read ACOTAR. And then we have Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. I did another video on this. This was in my video of reading the books that's my favorite, the favorite books of my favorite book talkers, and this was Destiny Sidwell's and also Larry's favorite books, or one of their favorite book. Loved this. I also gave this 5 star. I read Silver Flames and then this one back to back, and it was just phenomenal experience. Loved. I cried. I cannot. This is definitely a book that I want to reread and underline and highlight, because there were just so many things in here that I liked the relationship, and I liked the things that they were doing, and I liked Noah, and it was just, he was so sweet, and I was so sad for this book. If you have not read it, you definitely need to pick it up. It's so good. I'm not gonna say what's happening because I didn't expect it, and all I will say is you need to read it. Awesome, 5 star, amazing book. And then in that same video, I read Ninth House. This was my choice for Heather McClary. This was like her comfort read. She has read this several times. This one took me a little bit to get into. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. I gave this 3.75 stars. I will say this took me a little bit to get into, but I expected it. I anticipated, because in this book, it's either you love it or you don't like it. Like, there's not a lot of in between. I fell in the in between, but I think it was because I didn't know what to expect. And I think if I would have picked up the audiobook at the very beginning of me reading this, because I read and listened at the same time, after about the first 100 pages, I finally got the audiobook on Hoopla, and it was like so much better. I enjoyed it so much better, and I wish I would have picked it up the first time with the audiobook. So it's dark academia. It has ghosts and like magic and demons, and it's just in college. It's at Yale, I think. Is it Yale? Yeah, Yale. It's a whole thing. I want to reread this. I also want to read Hellbent because I do have that book as well. But I do want to go back and reread it and see if I enjoy it more now that I know what I'm getting into. So this was really good. I do anticipate this being another reread, and I do plan on reading Hellbent in the future. So 3.75 was a good read. In that same Book Talker favorite video, I read One Dark Window. I chose this originally for Sarah Caroli, but after I went back and looked at some of her past videos, she did like this, but it wasn't one of her favorites. There were some other books that she liked more that I had either already read them or I already had plans to read them a little bit later. And so I happened to see that she did like this book. She did end up picking the second book, so I chose this for that particular booktuber. But so I read One Dark Window. This is book 1 of the duology for the One Dark Window series. I gave this 4 stars. This one also had magic, but it was a different type of magic. It was like magic in cards. Like you got magic through the cards that you had in your possession, and only like a select few had these cards. She had like something going on internally, and it was interesting. It was really good. It had a lot going on. I honestly struggled at the very beginning of this. I don't know what it was. It just took me a little bit to try to get into it. I do want to read the next book because I think in the next book you have a lot more of Raven's perspective, who is the MMC in this book, and Elspeth is the FMC. So you get more of Raven, I think, in book 2. So I do plan on reading that because I want to finish up the duology because there's only 2 of them. So let me finish up the series that I've started. I have a video on that. So I did read this, 4 stars. It was good. You can check out that video if you want to see some more thoughts, comments on what I thought about it. And then the other 3 books, or the next 3 books, are all part of a series. This was going to be a video, but I started to record it, but I just didn't feel like doing it anymore. So I read the Caraval trilogy. So for this trilogy, I read, book 1, I gave 3.5 stars. This was mostly just because it was a lot of buildup of the like world that we're in with Scarlet, Tella, and Legend, and everything that they kind of get into. And then it has the other MMC, what is his name? Julian. And so 3.5, it was good. I did enjoy it. It's pretty good. But this one was all in Scarlet's. This kind of follows Scarlet's storyline, Scarlet and Julian. And then we have Legendary. I gave this a 3.75. This follows primarily Tella and Dante and Legend. And this one was, because you already knew the characters and you already kind of knew what was going on and like the world, and you kind of have anticipated kind of what was going on because there were questions that I felt were still needing to be answered. And this one, it was good. It was not great. It was better than Caraval, the first book, but I did really enjoy it. I love Dante, just his character. And you also get introduced to Jax, which is one of the characters in a Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. And so we meet Jax, who I love Jax. And so this was a good time. I did enjoy it. And then I read Finale, which I gave 4 stars. So we have 3.5, 3.75, and then 4 stars. So This one was very entertaining. I did enjoy it. I liked to see the story kind of wrap up with Scarlett and Tella and Julian and Dante and the whole shebang. It was good. I enjoyed it. So we have finale. Then I also read Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I bought this a while ago and I've been wanting to read it because I've heard everybody loves this book, and I did too. I gave this 4.75. It wasn't a 5-star. I did really, really, really enjoy it. I really, really liked Adam, and I liked Elsie, excuse you, and it was really entertaining. I did really enjoy their romance. So this book, the only other Ali Hazelwood book that I read, and all of these are, from what I'm understanding, a lot of Ali Hazelwood books are focused on STEM, and so it's more like the science, engineering, math, all that kind of stuff. This book had a lot of like is a physicist? Is she a physicist? Yes, a physicist, theoretical and experimental physicist, and all I kept thinking about was Big Bang. This book, Elsie is a theoretical physicist, and Adam is a experimental physicist, and it's their relationship. And this book had much more STEM concepts in it than the other Ali Hazelwood book that I read. So I did kind of have to skim over a lot of stuff because I didn't get it. I'm not STEM. And so I didn't understand what was being said. So I did have to skim, but it was still really good. It didn't give me that 5-star feeling, but it was a very good book. I am very glad I read it, and it was a good time. I had a good time reading this. And then the last book that I read on Kindle Unlimited. I do not have a physical copy in front of me. And this one was another book for the video of reading my favorite books by my favorite booktubers. And it was for Larry's choice. And I read The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. And I believe I ended up giving that either I gave it 3.75. Nope, a 3.5. I gave it a 3.5. This book was a very slow burn. So apparently all of Mariana Zapata books are slow burn, which is great because I enjoy slow burn, because in slow burn, and from my thoughts, is you get a lot more of the like banter back and forth because it's them evolving in their relationship, and then at the very end you finally get them to actually admit their feelings, and then all of that, and then it's like happily ever after. But when you have a relationship where they get together in the middle of the book, you still have banter and all of that kind of stuff, but a lot of times you don't. When they get together closer to the beginning of the book, middle to the beginning of the book, I don't feel their chemistry right away. Like, I don't feel their relationship or their like attraction to each other, because it's like instantaneous and you don't feel it. But in slow burns, because you see them slowly like go from potentially not liking each other to at the very end of the book loving each other, you feel the character so much more, in my perspective. And that's what I felt. So you have I can't remember, I am horrible with names. Is anybody else like that? Like, I will literally read this book, I'll finish it tonight, by tomorrow I will completely forget the names of the characters. I will remember what happened, couldn't tell you the names at all, unless it's like ACOTAR, where like Cassian stood out immediately. Doesn't happen a whole lot, but I'm horrible when it comes to names. So in The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, you have Vanessa, she's the assistant / cook, but she's basically the person who is there to help the wall, and he is Aiden, and he's like a football player, and he's huge. He's like, whoa, he's a football player. So she is his assistant, and at the very, very, very beginning of the book, she can't take it anymore. He's so like, he doesn't ask her anything, like he barely talks to her. They've been like boss employee for years, and like he barely says a word to her, says yes or no answers, doesn't really speak He's very like put off, and it's just, you know, she just doesn't enjoy it. So she quits, and then you have him coming back later wanting her to come back and marry him. Like, she quits, no like communications, just completely cut off. She's doing her life, you know, and then months later he comes back and says, I want you to come back, live in my house, and marry me, and do like a fake marriage type thing. So you have boss employee trope, you have grumpy sunshine, you have marriage of convenience, you have slow burn. You just have it all. This was such a good book. This was my first Mariana Zapata book, and I will be picking up more because I thoroughly enjoyed that book. So I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, that is all of the books that I read for the month of March. So with that, thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed, please make sure you do that. I would greatly appreciate it. And I will see everybody in my next video. Bye.